new day that we never seen before. We ask, oh God, that you lead and guide and direct us in the right direction today, that we'll do businesses according to business to be done this day. We pray for everyone that's present here, and we ask you just lead us and guide us and direct us in this all. I ask in your name, amen.
Thank you. Okay, we'll call to order the meeting of Danville Planning and Zoning Commission, August 24th. I can't even remember what day it is. 2022. First item is the approval of minutes from the July 27th meeting.
Chairman, I shared with Lisa some typos that she had in that meeting minutes.
Okay. So we need to,
If you'd like to know them, we can talk about them, but there's nothing significant.
Just to say the motion needs to include with correction.
okay. So we need a motion
I
with
move
corrections.
we accept the minutes with corrections.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. Financial report.
Well, there's this is just the first month of the year, so there's not a whole lot to report on. I guess the only things I would highlight is we ended the month at about $106,000 in the bank, and we started the month of July with $93,000 in the bank. So most of that's though due to the fact that we got our first, quarter contribution from Boyle County. If you look at our income, and again, I'm not going to go into any detail, I'm just going to talk to it. If you look at our income, we're still waiting for our Danville's first quarterly payment. If we don't get that in the next couple of weeks, we'll talk to Danville and find out why we haven't. And also, we've had a good month in fees in July. I mean, if you look at what our budget was for fees, we're almost a quarter of the way there, and 1/12 of the month into the year. And really, there's nothing, all the expenses were normal and in line, so there really isn't much to talk about for the first month of the year.
Okay, thank you. We need a motion.
Make a motion we accept the report.
Got a motion to accept the financial report
Second.
and a second. All in favor? Motion passes. Construction sureties. No action, okay. Subdivision approvals, we're gonna take these one at a time or all together?
Actually, 1 through 3, need motion for final approval, and then I have a fourth.
Okay,
That we need preliminary and final.
all right, Lisa, if you'll lead us through those,
Yes.
thank you.
First, we have Paul and Patricia Murray. They've applied for the subdivision of a 12.818 acre tract of land known as 3212 Persimmon Knob Road, Junction City. The property is zoned ag. This is a revision of a recently approved plat, removing a 20-foot access strip west of the tract, 9A2, and creating a 41.51-foot access strip on the east side of the tract. Basically, just moving the access strip one side to the other. It's ready for final approval. Next, we have JGE Properties LLC. They've applied for the subdivision of a 4.21 acre tract of land known as 0 Loftman Avenue, Danville. The property is zoned R1C. This is another revision of a recently finalized plat that shows the lot setbacks and the individual condo sublots, and also adds some measures that I believe the surveyor accidentally left off of the last one. It's ready for final approval. Lastly,
Is this gonna be condos or mobile homes?
it's one lot with condo subdivided lots, condo unit lots that are just marked where they're going to be. They're not actually individual lots of record.
Okay.
Okay. Thirdly, we have William J. Carey has applied for the subdivision of a 10.045 acre tract of land known as 3571 Webster Road in Danville. Property is zoned ag. This is a division of the Cary parent tract into 2 tracts, both just over 5 acres. It's ready for final approval contingent upon corrections being made to the plat. We had some question of where, the existing structures noted on the preliminary plat did not exactly match what the PVA's aerial shows. So I'm waiting for corrections on that to make sure that we have everything noted properly.
Would you like to address that?
I guess I don't know when the PVA was flown, but whenever that aerial was flown, probably a couple years ago or something, this structure has just been recently built, probably within the last year, so it's not going to show up on the PVA map. However, it is across the setback line, so we have to treat it like any other structure, non-conforming structure. And we'll put that note on there about it being a non-conforming structure.
Actually, Dale, the issue was the PVA showed structures on tract A, several structures on tract A, very close to the pond that is shown on tract A. The plat shows no structures on plat A.
Well, there is a house on track A. I mean, we can show that. Some of those structures have been torn down. The property line is on the other side of the pond. But we can
need to
put
reflect what structures exist.
Yeah, we can put those on there. I thought you were talking about the house that was being built on track B.
No.
But yes, that's no
over the
problem.
Building line.
Mhm. The other the structures on A will not be across the building line. They are set back.
From a procedural standpoint, how, I know that we don't have anything to do with this here right now, but I'm just asking from a procedural standpoint, how does anybody get permission to build across that 50-foot setback?
I really don't know how they did that. They should have, I'm sure they got a permit. Did they get a permit? Do you have any idea?
That would be with the building inspector. Actually, if this was one tract, could be that they had a farm exemption and did not have to get a permit, but I really do not know. That would be with the building inspector.
If they had a variance from the Board of Adjustment, if it was pre-existing, or if they amend the plat, if it's a plat setback and not something in our regs, if it's a setback that's just imposed by the plat, you can amend the plat to move the setback line. That's not necessary for existing structures, though.
And I think you were saying you thought this was a new build in the last few years?
It's-
Right, that's what I'm getting at. If it's a new build,
Right.
what I want to do is I just want to make sure that I don't always say yes to something that just keeps getting done, like we just constantly approving it, whatever anybody does.
I understand that. I think the time to crack down on that is the building inspector's permitting or an enforcement officer taking action to give a stop work order when something is being built in the setback or being built without a permit. Respectfully, we don't have the discretion to do anything about this problem in the approval of a plat. All we can ensure is that the plat has all the necessary elements and follows our subregs.
If it impacts the placement of the image on the plat, though, that's the only category that we have.
That's correct, but I don't think that we could use the image and its placement on the plat as a means to say you need to change the setback or move the house. I don't think that's within our powers today.
Okay, well, if you're spending time on this plat anyway, just verify that that building is where it is. I
Or it
think you can
is,
do
if
yeah.
we located the building.
Yeah, I was pretty sure you did, so that reflects the actual is what I'd like to make
Right.
sure.
Exactly.
But, Tom, did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure that we don't get into the position where we're the approval of whatever anybody wants to do.
Okay.
However they want to do it.
That really should be taken care of at the time of the issuance of the building permit. The zoning of the property should be known at that time and known what the setback is.
So now that we've talked in circles, I've forgotten, what are you going to do on track A area?
I want to show the existing structures.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion? Oh,
Yes, we're done. We're ready for a motion.
well, we're going to do those first three.
Because it's just a final only.
For final approval on the first.
Thank you, Dale.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve these, including this on this one we just discussed, the addition of structures be added to it. I would approve that.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Motion passes.
Okay. Lastly, we have Ms. Joanne Bottoms and the city of Perryville have applied for the subdivision of a 0.244 acre tract of land known as 314 East Third Street, Perryville. The property is zoned R1A. Basically, the city of Perryville is deeding their unnamed and unimproved alleyway to Ms. Bottoms in order to eliminate the non-conforming status of an existing accessory structure that she has on her property. Just to give her a little bit more area. Very cut and dry, no corrections required, it's ready for preliminary and final approval.
I'll make the motion that we give both preliminary and final approval on this plat.
Do we need to have two votes, or we do all together?
All together.
All right, we got a motion for preliminary and final approval. And we have a second. All right, all in favor? Motion passes. All right, public hearings. Jody Sharp Construction LLC has filed for a zoning map amendment on a tract of land containing 37.424 acres located at 0 St. James Drive, Danville, Kentucky. The requested zone change is from single-family residential R1A to single-family residential R1C. Come forward, please. State your name and address.
Jody Sharp. My address is 385 Spears Lane. I am before you to request a zoning modification from, for the property known as the Estates of St. James from an R1A to an R1C designation. There are approximately 37 plus or minus acres involved in this request. The basis for this request is economic. That being said, that is one of the components of requesting a zone change. The economics of development have advanced to the point where providing lots at a reasonable cost within this community are beyond the scope of a developer such as myself. And the factors that account for the cost increase include material, fuel, labor cost. As well, there has been a commensurate change in the street construction standards with the addition of more asphalt and with the inclusion of a greater width of the sidewalk. So that is the basis. Now, for this zoning modification, I'm requesting that my lots be reduced from a 70-foot frontage to a 50-foot frontage, and that the square footage would be reduced from 10,000 to a minimum of 8,000 square feet. And there's the possibility that there will be more than 8,000 square feet on some of the lots, depending on the topography, which we have little control over. This increase when originally laid out this property, there were approximately 105 lots within the development. Based on the acreage that is there, we would end up with approximately 145 lots. So there will be the addition of plus or minus 40, 45 lots there. And here again, that goes back to street design and street layout and what is permitted by that topography. In return for this request or this change, I agree to perform or agree to the following restrictions. One, that there be a single-family home per lot. Two, the maximum number of lots per acre would be 5. 3, I agree to connect to the Danville City water and city sewer systems. I agree to construct public city streets and sidewalks for this development. And I also agree to provide at least 2 parking spaces per home for this area. Now, there are 2 areas that we need to address. One is the future land use map, and the other is the comprehensive plan. The property as it presently exists conforms to the future land use map. And as I perceive going forward with the changes and restrictions that I am agreeing to, it will continue to agree with the future land use map. As for the comprehensive plan, it as well is in agreement with the current property. And I will not alter that area as per restrictions in order to go forward. Now, one of the requirements that is necessary for the approval of a change of a development is a transportation study. And I am requesting a waiver for the traffic impact study simply because at the very beginning, this property had conducted a traffic study, and it was performed by a certified traffic engineer. And that this had the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet's approval, and that it has been implemented. In place are ingress and egress lanes that most of you have followed, paid no attention to at the particular time that you were going down 3rd Street. So I request that waiver as per that restriction. Now, this request for approval from R1A to R1C follows the following footsteps. It's in agreement with the comprehensive plan. It's in agreement with the future land use plan. It will continue as a low-density development because R1A is low density, R1C is low density with a minimum of 5 lots per acre. And this development is compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods. The surrounding neighborhoods consist of, to the east, multifamily property. To the south, the cemetery. To the west, Candlewood, and to the west, existing residential in St. James, and to the north, Candlewood. So it's compatible with those areas. And lastly, with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet's approval and implementation of the plan, in connecting to an arterial street, I'm in compliance with the traffic impact study. Your attention and approval would be appreciated.
Can
I
I
have
ask?
a question.
Sure.
R1A allows, both R1A and R1C allow single-family and modular homes to be built. R1C also allows manufactured homes, zero-lot homes, single-family attached homes. You know, are you proposing any type of restrictions as to what you're going to be, type of houses you're going to be placing on these lots?
I frankly had not given any thought to it, but modular housing is one of the means and methods of addressing housing needs.
Well, modular housing is allowed in R1A and R1C, so I'm not really questioning that.
Okay.
It's just that R1C also allows some types of building that are not allowed in R1A, and R1C allows manufactured homes, which are not modular homes. Those are,
Let us.
I don't know what the proper.
Let us define what manufactured housing is. There are two concepts of manufactured housing. There is the one called a Clayton home. And then there is the other that is stick-built and produced in a factory.
Yeah.
Now, that one I would agree with. I'm reluctant to use it. The mobile home, no, I don't agree with.
That's what you were referring to as Clayton homes?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think if you look at, I think if I look at our definition, the modular home is what you're talking about, which is stick-built in a factory.
Yes.
That's allowed in R1A.
Yep.
And so there's no reason we would say fine with R1C.
No problem with it.
It's the other ones, which are the Clayton home, which is a
No.
manufactured home,
I
Zero-lot.
will include that in the restriction.
and zero-lot homes. And I presume that means zero lots. I mean, I assume that zero-lot homes are also allowed in R1C and not allowed in R1A.
Based on the size of the lot,
Yeah,
being 5,000 square feet with 50-foot frontage,
yeah. You won't have a
then
zero.
you will not have
a
zero lot
homes.
lines.
Yeah, okay. Well, the main one I was concerned about is what you're referring to as Clayton homes and what we call a manufactured home versus a modular home, which is stick-built in a
Yep.
factory.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so you're willing to restrict it to not include what we call manufactured homes, what you call Clayton homes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And zero lot. Even though right now,
Zero lot line construction would not occur here because within this classification, when you have a 50-foot lot, you have, I think it's 5 feet on each side yard requirement. That eliminates the zero lot line.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I have one question. On the north side with Candlewood, having cruised out on the street and looked up the hill, if you look in their backyards, your property, of course, that's adjacent to that entire Candlewood Street, I believe, and it's kind of raised, your property kind of goes up a hill a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a large number of trees out there behind those houses.
Yeah.
Could they be, something to be accommodated to those left? I think they're on your property side, not the Candlewood owner side.
At some point in time when construction occurs, that would be addressed.
And to add some sort of, even leaving the trees potentially?
I do not like to cut down a tree.
Okay, well, if you can accommodate that, that would be good for visual benefits on there.
I think that your request is perfectly acceptable.
Okay, that's wonderful, thank you.
May I ask one question?
Sure.
You mentioned in the documents that were submitted that Heartland was the secondary access point.
Yeah.
So that road, Heartland may be expanded? Or a
You mean
road would connect
Heartland
to
Drive.
Heartland?
If you, the adjoining property is designed to have a street that will run parallel to the boundary of the St. James property. The back of that property, we have included access in order for there to be transportation throughout that entire development.
Thank you, sir.
And that will continue to be a part of the development plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. sorry.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, one more. Mr. Sharp, and I apologize that we didn't cover this in our conversation yesterday, but the city has placed emphasis on a map contained in its comprehensive plan that shows proposed collector streets. From my looking at it, it looks like they're showing a collector street connecting Coffee Tree and Heartland. Is that something that you
Wait a minute,
anticipate?
I'm having a difficult time understanding you here.
I can speak up as needed. So, let's see. It's a street connecting Coffee Tree, which is the ingress into this property, and Heartland Drive. It just kind of goes clear across, latitudinally across your property. Is that something you anticipate being part of the development?
What I anticipate as part of the development is a street design that would provide the St. James Street going through, branching, and connecting to the Candlewood Vale property.
So you're going to access from your property to Candlewood? Yeah, the Candlewood,
Candlewood, there is no access. All of those homes
Okay.
have been built.
okay, so yeah, St. James is on the west side,
Yeah.
and you're going to, the only other access to your property is on the east side of,
All of the property
Yes.
in Candlewood has been built on,
that's right.
all of it. The only access to Candlewood is through Heartland Drive. And that is in place.
Okay, but this property we're talking about just has the two accesses to get to this 37 acres, correct?
It would be St. James and Hartford.
Yeah, those two, that's all there is, nothing more than that.
No.
Okay, I'm just make sure I understand.
And Mr. Sharp, to be clear, I'm not asking you in terms of asking for any kind of condition here. I'm just pointing out the fact that the city has placed great emphasis on this map and the comprehensive plan. And I want to correct, I said Coffee Tree, St. James, connecting
James,
St.
right.
James and Heartland. The map shows a street connecting those, so I'm just making you aware that this is something that they'll be looking to.
That'll be given consideration.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's 37 acres, a lot of acres. For just one entrance, you're going to have two, wouldn't you?
Right. Well, the history of the property,
Yeah.
Henry has mentioned that, he's talked about Coffee Tree. If you want to review the history of this property, originally, it was the site of the Danville Country Club golf course.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was acquired by a Quaker organization, and they planned what was called the Coffee Tree Rest Home area. Then I acquired it, and it became a single-family residential.
Mm-hmm.
And it will continue in that pattern.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. At this time, we'd like to open the floor to anyone who wants to speak in favor of this zone change. Seeing none, at this point, we'd like to open the floor for anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to this zone change. Please state your name and address.
My name is Mike Klein. I live at 194 Candlewood. I am here representing not only myself, but 4 or 5 of my neighbors on Candlewood. We are not really opposed to development on that property. That's not why I'm here. I am here more to make sure that you're aware and to make sure that the developer is aware of a concern that we have. And that concern is the flooding that we experience in our backyards. Our backyards border the property that we're talking about today. Now, we've always experienced that flooding when we have significant rainfall, and we've just lived with it. It's never reached our homes, it's stayed in the backyard, so we've just lived with it. But now that they're developing that property back there, we felt it was time to make certain that the city was aware and to make sure that the developer was aware of the flooding and the amount of rain that comes down off that property. And I suspect some of it may be coming down from the Boone Trail area as well, although I've never actually walked up there and checked. But we just wanted to make sure that you were aware of it. I don't know if, we have some concern that this development, we don't know if it will increase the flooding, if it will decrease the flooding. We just don't know. We're not engineers. So we wanted to make sure everyone was aware of it. And in addition, this would probably be a good time to address it. And like I say, there's 4 or 5 residential homes on Candlewood that are affected by this flooding off of that property. So we feel like now is a good time to make everybody aware of it and to address it and look at it. I don't know if the city engineer needs to look at it, perhaps when the next significant rainfall. And hopefully this development will take care of that. I don't know, but that's all I really came to say. And
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Is that where the trees are at?
It
When
is,
you look
yes.
at that?
Now, at the
They're in
bottom
that
of the
same
hill where
valley
we're talking
area?
about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that certainly helps, historically, trees help with flooding issues to a
Yeah.
point until you get so much. And we've had a huge amount of water this year.
We have. And that flooding surprisingly, now I understand the way that property is, it sort of funnels the water down.
Right.
But even after the rain stops, after a considerable amount of rain, that flooding will continue for sometimes 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, that's a bigger issue than just this particular plot of ground. I agree with you.
That's what I think.
That's something your group needs to reach out.
Yeah. And I've been there 17 years, and it's always been that way.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that's something the city needs to look at, or the developer, or how that should be handled. We didn't really know. We just wanted to make everybody aware of it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, this particular request and activity doesn't really address that, but it is something that you definitely have concern over.
Sure, yep.
How do we make sure it's not going to make it worse?
Well, that,
Mr. Griffin, that's a matter that'll be addressed at a more technical phase of this, where this is changing the zoning. We're going to have development plans that are put before us, and those are things that will receive review from the city engineer. Mr. Sharp can correct me or anyone else, but I believe a common standard is that new developments are not to make the rate of water flow off of the development increase by virtue of whatever development has taken place. So it should not exacerbate anything that's happening there. But it will receive review from the city engineer to make sure that, to review just the factor you're talking about.
okay, great. Thank you all.
Thank you. Anyone else choose to speak in opposition to this zone change? Seeing none, we can close the public hearing and open up for discussion. May have any other questions or concerns or?
Make a motion to approve? Is there a special language we use here, Henry?
I don't think there's any particular.
Okay, I make a motion, we approve.
I would like to kind of supplement that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'll give the approval language, but then I'm going to raise an issue that I think that you all need to at least address in your motion. So you're going to make a motion to approve it based upon compliance with the comprehensive plan and conformity therewith, specifically the future land use map. It conforms with that. It also conforms to the goals and objectives, including land development goals of promoting planned development and using the future land use map, protecting agricultural areas by encouraging growth in areas currently served by public utilities or where public expansion of those services is planned. It also conforms with the objective of making efficient use of existing utility systems. The motion to approve will be subject to developer conditions, which include only one single-family dwelling per lot. The maximum number of lots per acre will be 5. The development will connect to city water and sewer. The developer will construct public city streets and sidewalks. There will be 2 parking spaces per home. Developer additionally added during the course of the meeting that there will be no manufactured homes and no zero lot line construction. That's the motion as I see it. The one other issue which we need to address is his requested waiver of a traffic study. That's mentioned in both our comprehensive plan and in our zoning ordinance. And as I understand what Mr. Sharp has submitted is he received a 1999 encroachment permit from the state onto this road, and he's holding that forth as saying the state approved encroachment, and thus we don't need to further consider traffic impacts. And it's the Planning Commission's discretion whether to accept that or to ask for more. And if we are going to accept it, we need to make it part of the motion acknowledging and granting the waiver.
In my motion, I don't want to approve the waiver. I do not want to approve the waiver in my motion.
You want to have another transportation study done?
Yeah, I think we need another traffic study.
Okay.
That's my,
It seems to me that that street already has that ingress, turn lane.
but it didn't take into account another 35 houses.
Just a procedural point, we have a motion but no second. I think after we get a second, we should have discussion on the motion.
Good point.
So your motion does not include the waiver,
Does not include a waiver.
but the other comments that Henry.
Yes, all the other comments, the book.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, open for discussion.
We really need to go back and look at the transportation map, or how that paperwork. I'd be surprised if it didn't consider lots on that particular property during the study. Do you recall what the study covered? Anybody?
The study covered the 105 lots that were planned on that property. And the addition of, the addition of lots is not going to change it that much.
Well, but the short question is, it did have 105 lots in the study. That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like it was totally forgotten. What we're talking about is the increase of lots
Increasing the lot.
is what the difference was there.
How
And I
many
think,
lots increase above 105?
and that was to 145, which was what was discussed.
That is
discussed
correct.
Before.
So from
105 to
105 to 135 or
145.
Plus or minus 140, 145. Here again, that depends on topography. You could be looking at anywhere from 30 to 40 additional lots is what you would be looking at. And with the expansion of the development and its access through Candlewood Vale, then you would significantly reduce the traffic out onto 3rd Street.
So what I was bringing up is that there is a significant number of counts that are already in that study. We're talking about the differential is what we're talking about, the addition at 3540. Is that if we think that is enough to do it, I'm not sure that I think it's enough to make a change on the transportation study results based upon that activity, but we're seeing now, of course, compared to what it is, just because there's houses in Candlewood and the other areas, more traffic anyway. 33 gets busier, Hardland gets busy, it's just nature what it is, forgetting about what Mr. Sharp's addition that he has involved with here. We're seeing traffic from that. It always gives me the illusion that maybe there's more of an issue than it was before. The lane coming out on the side over to Route 33 there, the fact is you got to turn left, turn right, helps a lot in that traffic flow a little bit. It's more than I've seen done on a lot of streets entering that Route 33.
Well, and all 140 houses aren't also going to spit out on 3rd Street either, because they're also going to be, some of those are going to be going out in Heartland in the back.
In the back element on there. So I guess I I just don't see it needing another transportation study if it's just that level is what I was getting to. I don't know what we're gonna,
Normally, I'm the person that would say, let's go for the study, but I think that in this case, I'm comfortable with the previous transportation study, knowing that, I'm thinking to myself, what would they ask him to do? The lanes are already there.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that what's already been done for 140 houses, 130 houses.
105,
Excuse me.
yes.
Adding another, I'll withdraw the motion.
okay,
Oh,
That part of the motion.
I'll withdraw the whole motion. Somebody else can make a new motion. Makes it less muddy.
thank you. On the transportation, I think we're settled.
Okay,
My
so we,
motion's withdrawn.
so we have a motion and a second, now we have a
We'll have to-
withdrawn motion.
Second, the motion to withdraw.
You voted down.
So now, we're back to ground zero.
Yes.
Do you
that's
want to
correct.
redo this?
I can make a motion again
Yes.
without, same motion that Henry read, without, with the waiver of the traffic study,
As read by him.
as read by Henry.
I've read it into the record once. It is in the recording of this meeting. I think we probably agree upon the conditions. I'm happy to read it again if the commission would prefer.
Let's go ahead and do it one more time, please.
We're making a motion to recommend approval of this zone map amendment. The grounds for approval are compliance and conformity with the comprehensive plan. That compliance and conformity exists in aligning with the future land use map designation of low-density residential. We also embody several objectives set out in the goals and objectives. Those include the general land development objectives of assuring the best possible utilization of land by using a future land use map to guide land uses. The objective of protecting the agricultural areas by encouraging growth into areas currently served by public utilities or where expansion is planned. And the application conforms with the land use objective of making efficient use of existing utility systems by promoting restoration, redevelopment, and infill development, and discouraging strip development. The motion comes with the applicant's proposed conditions. Those include one single-family dwelling per lot. The maximum number of lots per acre shall be 5. The development shall connect to city water and sewer. The developer shall construct public city streets and sidewalk, and the developer shall provide for 2 parking spaces per home. Additional conditions added during the meeting include a prohibition on manufactured homes and a prohibition on zero lot line construction. Furthermore, after discussion and consideration of the 1999 state encroachment permit, the commission supports the requested waiver of a traffic impact study.
Thank you, Henry. So that's our motion, and we needed a second. All right, we have a second. Any further discussion on the motion? If no other further discussion, all in favor of the motion? Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. Any new business, advisory committee report? None. Budget committee report?
Only that we'll be getting the Budget Committee will be sitting down with the auditor in a couple of weeks to have them give us the first report on our annual audit. And then once we have reviewed it and are okay with it, that'll be sent along to the entire committee for your review, and then we'll be discussing and approving that, perhaps at the September meeting, but we'll see.
Okay, at this time, I think we'd like to have a motion to go into,
So moved. Executive session.
And second.
For a discussion of personnel action.
we have a motion and a second to go into executive session for personnel issues.
All in favor?
Motion.
motion, we come back into session from closed session.
Right, and I'll just elaborate on that, that no action was taken. We did issue a clarifying statement regarding a previous personnel action relating to the appointment of interim directors. Those directors are authorized to and have rendered administrative assistance as needed. They've presented to the city commission the actions of the full planning commission. We would add that Lisa Bowman is additionally authorized to make those presentations. The interim director shall not and has not participated in the review of applications, shall not and has not acted as the first line of communication with incoming applicants, and shall not and has not exercised the powers listed under KRS 100.271, namely the issuance of building permits or certificates of occupancy or the administration of the zoning regulation. That's the motion.
I move to accept as read.
I second that motion to accept it.
We have a motion, and a second, all in favor? Motion passes.
We need a second to,
Come out of session.
to the motion
Oh,
to
we
come
have
out
a
of
second.
session and then
Did we? Oh.
motion to accept his statement. Right?
We're just clarifying who gave the motion the second. I think the motion came from Commissioner Griffin. The second was Mayor Sleep?
Yes.
Okay, thank you,
Come out of session.
Okay.
thank you.
And we have a motion and a second. And all in favor of that? We already had a vote. Okay, any other new business? Any announcements? Got a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
Second. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for your time.